Hey there, listeners. Welcome back to Podcast Demastered. I'm here with Chelsea, and we have an exciting episode for you. Well, a series of episodes, I guess we should say. And long in the making at that.
For sure.
Long in the making. And when we started it, we didn't think about like how long this would take us to do. So buckle in, because we're going to find out ourselves. This could be quite a run of episodes for us. We'll find out. But we have been exploring the wonderful world of the new Krakoan Age in the X-Men comics. So if you don't really know much about comics or like especially the X-Men variety, don't worry at all. This is an excellent place to just start listening and kind of figuring out from here. You don't really need to know anything to understand what we're talking about. If you know like general X-Men names, then you'll be fine. You'll be just fine. If not, go back and watch the X-Men movies, like all of them, and you'll be fine after that. So.
Yep. Or check out our episode 2 as well. We did a little.
Oh, yeah. That was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while now.
Yeah, we did a little X-Men episode. It was just a real basic X-Men episode, but it was a really good time. So you can go check that out. We don't remember what we talked about in that episode. We don't know who our favorite mutants were 2 years ago. So
they're always changing.
If we contradict ourselves in this episode, don't worry about it. We'll be fine.
Yes.
We'll be okay. So anyway, the reason why we're doing this episode is because this year is the 60th anniversary of X-Men, and that's pretty cool.
Yep. Think about that. The first issue came out in 1963.
When I was a wee negative 27 years old. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Great times.
Yep.
Great times.
Look how far they've come now with this whole new age, Krakoan Age.
I know. So Chelsea, your history with the X-Men is probably a good bit deeper than mine. The Krakoan Age withstanding. Why don't you tell me a little bit about everything that you've gotten to do? All the things. Don't skip it. Don't skip anything. Not a single issue.
Not a single issue. Well, how much time do we have, everybody? No.
Literally everything. Yeah. Literally all the time.
Oh, man. I mean, yeah, I feel like I've read a lot, but I mean, I feel like it would take forever to read everything X-Men related. That's my goal one day, because it's just, there's so many characters, so many storylines. But yeah, I mean, I first got into X-Men comics. I think I told the story in the other episode, but I'll tell it again. I was on a mission trip, and one of our, like, young adult leaders was reading a comic, and I was like, "Ooh, what's that?" And she was like, "It's the X-Men." And I was like, "Oh, I've heard of the X-Men." Like, I watched the cartoon and stuff. I'm like, they're really cool. And it was the New Age. And so that was kind of like a new story arc. That was, like, mid-2000s, I think, or something was that when that was going on. And it was a fun read. It had a bunch of new characters that I hadn't been familiar with, that I hadn't seen in any other like TV show or movies. And I just really got into that and started reading from that point onward. And then I kind of started reading everything up until a couple of years ago. And I feel like when I kind of stopped.
When you ended, I started.
Yeah, kind of almost. I feel like there's another little gap in there, but that was definitely where I left off. And then you've been talking about it and gushing about it, and I'm just like, I don't know where I've been. Like, I don't know why I stopped reading them. I think it was just like, I just didn't have time or didn't want to check them all out from the library or whatnot. But I'll just already say it's been a blast reading X-Men comics again, and I'm so glad to be able to talk about this with you.
And I know, I'm glad we're finally doing it. Because I don't like reading all of this stuff. I didn't want to like talk about it too much, because I didn't want to just ruin everything in case you ever picked it back up. But like the only other person I have to talk about it is my fiance, and he's just like, oh yeah, okay. But he's like you, where he's kind of like, he's read like older stuff. He just doesn't have any context for like the now. So I just tell him everything now. So.
Yeah.
But I try to get him to read it too, so he can like understand the more like intricate details and like the characterization of everybody nowadays compared to when he would have read and stuff like that. But now we get to do it. Now we get to do it together.
And hopefully our listeners will be interested in this too, because yeah, I think in general this is kind of a good starting off point in a lot of ways. Like there's been a lot of history for all these characters, but like this is a place where it's almost like this reset in a way as well.
It is. It's a huge reset, and they really just said like at the start of this age, it's not just like a new starting point. It's like a whole timeline shift kind of, where they said, hey, if you don't know anything about like what's happened with these hundreds of characters before now, don't worry about it. We'll tell you if you need to remember anything. We'll let you know. And then so you could just keep reading. You don't have to go back and read anything unless something catches your eye and they're referring to something and you're like, oh, I've done that a few times. They've talked about, just brought something up that I'm like, oh, I didn't know that happened. And I went to Google real fast. And I'm like, oh, it was this, or like these handfuls of issues, or this run, or this event. And I've gone back and just kind of, glanced at it and go, oh, I had no idea that happened.
Yeah. And there's even some little notes within some of the different issues that has little asterisks about like referencing like, see this comic if you want to know more information about this particular storyline. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I'll definitely have to go check that one out later because I don't think I've read that as well or something.
Yeah. So it's all very it's amazingly accessible. And I didn't really start reading X-Men until the Krakoan Age started. And I had read just little things here and there, nothing in any kind of grouping or a run or any. I've never done any of that, but just starting at Krakoa, like I feel like I know so much now just because I've started here, and then I've gone back to catch what I wanted to catch just for extra information and entertainment.
Well, that's really, great that, like, and it's so interesting, like, having your experience that, and then, like, that you're almost, like, lucky enough, though, that you were able to, like, get right in at this beginning part that was able to be the introductory to you and help you also want to read some of the older ones as well, but has such an interesting story that we'll definitely talk a little bit about that, like, propels you forward to want to know what happens next.
Oh, yeah.
The X-Men, it's so much drama, so much, I don't know, it's just...
You can't have the X-Men without a lot of drama.
Yeah.
But, and before this age, they said you couldn't tell a story without death. And Jonathan Hickman, he sat down and, while they were trying to come up with... Because, before the Krakoan Age, the X-Men line was just...
It's been depressing.
It was a mess. Well, it was just... everybody was dying. It was just bad, not like bad storylines, like
it was all spiraling,
badly written stuff. Yeah, it was just like negative and awful, and all of this stuff was happening. And he sat down and he's just like, we're gonna fix this. But he got tired of it, especially with mutants. Death is a thing with mutants. Everybody dies, and because of comic books, they always come back. And he sat down, he said, I want to make it to where if we want to tell a good story, it's not going to be about people dying. Death is not important in a story anymore. So what does he do? He creates a thing where mutants can come back to life. Which we'll talk about that later, I'm sure. But he told his writers, he said, no more. A character dying is no longer like a story point,
Yeah.
It's not motivation for what's going to happen next. It's not important because it's going to be fixed on the very next page. Not in the next run, not in the next book, the next page. It's fixed.
Yeah. So instead of those infamous lines that really changed things in the course of recency about no more mutants, we have nothing to worry about for these mutants going forward.
Oh, yes.
Or debatably nothing to worry about.
Debatably.
Yeah.
We'll find out here soon, I'm sure. But but no, it's the Krakoan Age really just took all the mutants, put them all together. Everybody's on the same page, both figuratively and literally. And I don't know. I don't think anything has helped the mutants so much in their run quite like this. There's nothing comparable to what has happened here. I don't think.
It's a bold, very dramatic step for them.
It was such a chance. It was such a risk, I think. Although, it's also Jonathan Hickman, so I don't think he saw it. I'm pretty sure he was like, we'll be fine. But to the fans, I'm pretty sure it was like, whoa, this is like a dramatic,
But brings out a lot of feelings.
It is. It's not the good guys versus, like, the good mutants versus the bad mutants. It's not the X-Men are living in, Xavier's school. It's not, the school is not there. It's not about that anymore. It's about every single mutant, good, bad, and ugly.
Yep, all coming together,
all living
together.
Under the same roof. Yeah, in the same island.
Yeah.
Everybody has to be together or this does not succeed. Mm-hmm. And that's how they sold it, and that's how it has absolutely worked. And so the drama now comes from, it's not good mutant versus bad mutant. It's we are talking survival. Now we're trying to make sure that humanity is okay with us. We're showing the world that we matter. We are a power on this world. Mm-hmm. And then you have the enemies that's created, the human enemies that's created. And then you have the mutants, good and bad still, on the inside going, okay, how can I make this work better for me and not better for we? And so that's where the stories come from. But that's where the fun comes from too.
The drama.
So like you have your bad guys who are just, they were like terrifying bad guys. Like you have your Apocalypse. Mm-hmm. He's right there. Magneto, he's right there. But possibly my favorite thing to happen in this whole thing, you also have Mr. Sinister sitting right there too.
Get out of here. No.
And
oh gosh. Oh, Mr. Sinister.
And so for people who have like watched the X-Men movies, like all of the X-Men movies, you may not really know who Mr. Sinister is, which is totally fair because he was like teased at the end of, I don't know what movie was that. He was teased.
Wait,
it was like Deadpool maybe
or something.
It was New Mutants. He was teased at the end of New Mutants as a setup for like, he's the bad guy behind all of this, but that's it. So there was no explanation on who he is. He's basically just a dude he's a geneticist
right?
who's obsessed. More or less, he's obsessed with, and that's not a strong word.
No.
We need something stronger. He's obsessed with Nathan Summers and Jean Grey and like the genetic potential that their power has. And some of the biggest stuff to ever happen to the X-Men are because of him in one way or another. And so many things have been retconned even to just include him in hindsight, like it's this whole mess. But he's a terrible human being. He's just your quintessential scientist.
Just a regular human being that was just...
He was just a normal human being, but like we'll talk about it later when they set up Krakoa, he fixed that. So he could also be part of Krakoa.
Fixed. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Fixed as in cheated.
Yes. Oh, man. He's also just so creepy looking. Like, just seeing his image.
He has a very distinct look.
Yeah. It's a very ick factor all around with just like his
ick factor
background.
Indeed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But, and then he starts talking though. And then he's
sassy.
He's like the funniest person in ever. He's just, he has the best one-liners.
It is fair.
And like, he's also aware of it. His thing is like, if I'm not making like pop culture references and snarky one-liners, then why even invite me? Like,
yeah.
And if you don't understand those things, why are you even alive?
You're done.
Like literally, he'll fix that. It's fine.
Oh gosh. No, but yes, I enjoy those moments, but I'm still just like, no, thank you. Please get removed from all the situations. Minister Sinister should have never have been involved in this.
I got some news for you.
I know.
He ain't going nowhere.
I know, but all the warning bells are there. I just am like,
Oh no, he's a walking red flag for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they know it, but they're like, this can't work unless Sinister's involved. And if Sinister's gonna be involved, like, he asked for some things, and we had to give him some things, but we will keep the best eye that we can on him. He's also part of the Quiet Council, the group that like governs Krakoa. He's part of that, but that was a decision where it's like, keep your enemies closer kind of situation, because he's going to have the power regardless whether he's there or not. Mm-hmm. So at the very least, we can keep an eye on him. But he is just He's amazing in the worst of ways. Just
Definitely
absolutely
the worst ways, no.
impossible.
For real. But by mentioning the Quiet Council and stuff, maybe we should do a little bit of a slight step back and kind of talk about, like, we keep talking about this Krakoan Age, but some people may have heard that vague term.
Say
like,
what that
maybe,
is.
Yeah. Like, what the heck? How does the story start? Like, why is this, like, a good almost starting place? We just keep talking about this. So, yeah. So I think it was, like, the big, like, the prelude to this whole Krakoan Age was, like, the House of X powers of 10.
Yeah, there was this 5 issues each.
Yeah.
It came out weekly. One week you'd get House of X. The next week you got Powers of 10. And they told like 2 separate stories kind of, but they were absolutely like, it was just like, it was 2 sides of your peanut butter and jelly. Like you're getting there together, but they're telling you two different things that you need to know so that by the time we hit the end of this little intro story, you understand what Krakoa is, you understand how they got there, the sacrifice and everything it took to get there. You understand what it means going forward. You're there.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a good thing to read like multiple times too, because
it
kind of goes all over the place, like jumping back and forth through time, different timelines, and it's just a crazy time just showing like what could happen in all these scenarios about like, because I think a thing that a lot of people know is that like Professor X, like he always at some point like saw the good in humanity and wanted mutants and humans to like coexist. Like that has been his thing for like pretty much forever. So the other person that like plays into this fact, because you have like, you know, Professor X and like kind of Magneto, they were kind of seeing like, you know, 2 sides of the same coin, like different views on what mutants should do and whatnot. And then you have
either live in harmony or mutants rule.
Yeah.
Like that was it for those 2. And that's why they were always fighting all the time.
But then there was like, but wait, that there
we
might
have
be a third
another
option. Yes.
There is another.
And who is this other?
Surprisingly, it's Moira McTaggart. Which if you've seen like the like First Class movies, you know who Moira is. She's in those movies. I don't think she's in the old ones. I'm pretty sure she's not.
Not really. If she is, it's not really by name technically or something like that. Maybe an offhand.
But in the past, she's been like a human ally, another geneticist who is happy to work with X-Men because she believes also that humans and mutants can live in peace together. So she works with Charles a lot. But Moira, she's always been there. But this little intro story, the whole crux of how this Krakoan Age could get started, it is revealed very quickly within House of X that Moira has been a mutant this whole time. But not only just a mutant, her mutant power is that of resurrection. In the fact that when she dies, she relives her life, effectively resetting the timeline. And I don't think we have enough time to go through all of her lives, but basically her first life, she lives, she loves, she dies. Normal human, happy ending, lives till she's old, passes away. Then she finds that she wakes up in her mother's womb.
And she actually realizes she remembers.
She remembers everything, every single detail from her past life. And then, of course, that's when she realizes, oh, snap. And so she goes into the heavy studying of mutants and trying to figure out what's up with that. But I think it was her second life where she is like, no, we're gonna make a cure. I think that's when she starts to like make around a cure for something. Yeah. And then her, it's the second life where she dies pretty quickly because she tries to go meet Charles Xavier. She sees him on the news talking about human and she's like, I need to understand this more. She hops on a plane crashes. She dies. Third life, then she's like, okay, we're super smart now. Now we've lived 1.5 lives, I guess. We're super smart. We're gonna study harder. We're gonna go talk to Charles. Well, she meets Charles, and if you know anything about Charles Xavier, when he's a younger dude, he sucked. I mean, he sucks now still, but it's a different suck. But he was just like, he was such a bro when he was young, and he was so arrogant and like jerkish that when she met him at university, she was like, wow, you suck. And then she leaves, and she's like, I'm going to make a cure for being a mutant, because screw this. I don't want to deal with this. Mm-hmm. And then enter the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, at the time led by Mystique, which most people know who Mystique is, and also Destiny. Now, Destiny, most people, I bet, don't know who Destiny is. If you've just seen the movies, you've never heard of Destiny. Destiny is Mystique's wife. She's blind, and she can see the future. Or multiple futures, I should say.
Yeah.
And so they come and they attack Moira's lab, and they stop her from making this cure. And this is when Moira and Destiny kind of sit down and have this chat, where Destiny's like, yeah, so I see that you're a mutant. I see that you have 10 lives. And that's what you get. Like, you are not going to live forever. And so, but I promise you, like, if you try to make this cure again, we will come for you again and we will kill you. Mm-hmm. Like, we will always stop you. So, like, find a better way to spend your time, more or less. Yeah. And then kills her, of course. Mm-hmm. So, moving on into fourth life. Now, the next bunch of lives is Moira kind of embracing being a mutant. She's like, okay, I'm going to get with Charles. We're going to focus really hard on his dream. Doesn't work out. Mutants die. Mm-hmm. They lose. Next life, okay, I'm going to go over here with Magneto. We're going to try his way of life. Nope. Mutants lose. Moving on, she gets with Apocalypse. Mm-hmm. She lasts a lot longer there, because she's like, what, like 1,000 years old?
It's something insane like that,
you know?
Sure, yeah.
Which this life specifically, this is where the Powers of X, or the Powers of 10 story, that kind of takes place in this timeline, like a lot of it does, because it's pretty important. But, you know, at the end of the day, the mutants lose again. Mm-hmm. And so she gets to life 9, and she realizes there isn't a one answer for this situation. So what can I do? So then when she hits life 10, she decides she lives her life normally, goes to meet Charles at university, and she gives up the bag. She says, hey, you're Charles, I'm Moira. Read my mind really quick. Yes, I know you can do that. Read my mind really quick. And he reads her mind, and he sees all of her 9 lives. Mm-hmm. And he understands in a moment how foolish his dream is. And she takes this I know. To see your life's work, like, fail 10 times over, essentially, you know, like, wow. Yeah. And so, but also, like, his way of life, like, mutants just don't win. Not when we're scattered and not working together. And so they come up with a plan. They go get Magneto. They sign him on board. Mm-hmm. They go talk to Apocalypse. They sign him on board. They, you know, it's vague. In the future, this is our goal for mutantum. When the time comes, will you help us with that? And they're like, yeah, sure. That sounds great. They also go talk to Mr. Sinister, because with what they have in mind, they just know it's not going to work if we don't.
Crazy gene guy. Yeah.
We need the crazy gene guy. We need somebody who understands genetics and who can produce that level of, like, DNA at all times. Mm-hmm. They sign him on. They also visit this island called Krakoa, which is an island that has existed in X-Men history almost
Lots
as long as X-Men has. Yeah, it's a living island. It's a living island. It has its own mind. Mm-hmm. It once trapped the original X-Men team there and, like, forcefully fed on their energy. Mm-hmm. Which a new X-Men team had to come and save them. And then after that, they just kind of stayed away from Krakoa, because they were like, oh my gosh, this island will, like,
kill us.
Will eat us. We'll, like, yeah, we can't go there. But they have a mutant. His name is Doug. We love Doug. His mutant name is Cypher. Yeah. But his power is that he can understand any language, if it's a spoken language, written language, body language. Mm-hmm. He can understand it. So Xavier drops him off there for like 6 months.
Yeah, it's like, bye.
On this
good
wild,
luck.
crazy island. Yeah. Legit drops him off and says, peace out, home dog.
Yeah.
Like, no cell phone for you.
No, yeah.
I'll be back eventually. But remember, if you fail, we all die. Good luck.
No pressure.
So his job is to learn to communicate with Krakoa. Mm-hmm. Because what they wanted to do is the end goal was they wanted to take every mutant in the world and put them all in one place, somewhere that they could survive and work together. Well, Doug does it. He does it. He wins. Krakoa becomes his bestie. They hit a point. All the mutants move in. Good, bad, and ugly.
And then they create, their mutant nation. They create themselves.
They create the mutant nation of Krakoa. They go to the UN. They set themselves up, but they don't come empty-handed.
Oh no, they don't.
They produce. Krakoa produces this special, all of these special flowers, but there's specific ones that they take and they make into medicine. And when humans take this medicine, this special medicine can basically cure like any disease, even like cancer, Alzheimer's, like everything. It works on everything.
The true miracle drug that really works.
A true miracle drug. Even for a healthy individual, it increases lifespan by like 5 to 10 years or something like that.
I think so. Yeah. It just has
lots of
positives.
It has so many like positive effects. No negative effects, all positive effects. And they say if in Charles Magneto Apocalypse, they come up to the UN and they're like, if you recognize our sovereignty, we will give you the world. We will give you this drug. That's what we bring to the table. Because we still believe.
Yes.
also leave us alone. Because we still believe that mutants and humans can coexist together on the same planet. The reaction to that is fairly positive. You know, most countries around the world are like, oh, that's amazing. Yeah, okay. They also open up gates, these Krakoan gates, which are basically just like portals.
Yeah, that were like flowers planted and then they turn into these
they
portals.
Plant flowers and turns into these portals. And they plant them all around the world, everywhere. And they say that if you are a mutant, you have a home on Krakoa. You can leave wherever you're at, and you have a home. And so there's a mass exodus of mutants from every country who are just like, peace out, everybody, and just walking through the portals to come to Krakoa to like enjoy and be safe, you know, away from persecution. But there is one group,
just one,
who is not a fan. There's one major group who is not a fan of this, and that is Orcus. Orcus is a group that comes together from scientists from like every other organization of the world, like SHIELD, SWORD,
like former government,
former government agencies, Hydra, AIM, like Alpha Flight, everything. Like, you don't like mutants? Come work for us because we're here to protect humanity. Like, that's their thing.
We're ready to take them down, the mutants. Yeah.
They're not looking to just protect humanity. Of course, they're there to just actively get rid of the mutants.
Get rid of the problem to them. Yeah.
The problem. This is how this whole introduction of Orcus is how the House of X Powers of 10 book really starts. Because they take a bunch of major players: Jean, Cyclops, Storm, Mystique, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, you know, so many like major people. They throw them in a spaceship, they shoot them off to the sun, because Orcus has a space station orbiting the sun where they are like mass producing Sentinels, which just giant metal mutant killers, amongst other things. But their goal is like, if we can destroy the space station, that's the end of Orcus, and then Krakoa is truly perfect. There's nothing else to stand in mutants' way of just trying to exist. Well, they go. They're fairly successful in their mission, I believe.
Yeah.
Except everybody dies.
So all the core people
and watching them all die, is so traumatic because it all just hit. Yeah. It's just major hit after major hit. But then you find out, no, they were successful. They did it. And all the mutants are standing on Krakoa watching the sky, and they're just like waiting for that like telepathic command from Charles saying we're good to go. It happens, but that's not the only thing that happens.
No, something else.
Charles, Magneto, they all walk out. And they're surrounded by the mutants that just died, with another proclamation to the mutants saying that mutants are now immortal. If you die, we can bring you back. Because of the help of 5 specific mutants, when they put their powers together, when they work together. Oh, and also Mr. Sinister, I guess.
Yes.
They can take a mutant's DNA. They can basically clone the body, age it up to the appropriate time.
They're perfect, like purest form.
Their preferred age.
Yeah,
they can be any age they want. Oh, they don't really mess with that a whole lot.
No.
But and then a telepath, usually Charles, can take. They keep mental backups of every single mutant in the computer system Cerebro. And then they just take a copy of those memories, those lifelong memories, download them into the clone's body.
And welcome back.
Voila, you're alive again. And I think the very opening of House of X is them being reincarnated. Is that right?
Ooh.
You get the classic page of them like hatching from their little golden egg thingies, and Charles is down there with his Cerebro helmet, and they're all like on the ground, like crawling towards him in like orange goo, like naked in orange goo, and he's all like, "To me, my X-Men."
Yes, I was like the line,
and it's just like, whoa! It's the line. He said the thing. That specific page comes back in so many different ways over the course of like the Krakoan era. It's ridiculous, but it sets such a precedent. It's also like it's amazing.
It's something for sure.
It is.
Yeah. So that is. I mean, that's pretty much, it's a crazy intro to this whole new era that just sets everything in motion. And so then the world explodes and we get so many different stories, so many things just get set up, so many mutants, that new, old ones you're like, OMG, I don't even remember that
people who have been
20 years ago.
People who have been dead.
Yes.
Mutants that have been dead for so long, now they're back. Now they're back. They bring back so many people, whether they've been just forgotten or whether they've been depowered. Yes. Because if a mutant has been, because everybody knows about the famous Scarlet Witch, House of M, No More Mutants, depowering. That's still a thing in modern comics. That was not fixed ever.
No.
She took people's powers away, and I think after she did that, there was a whole like maybe 100 mutants on the whole world. I think it's more like 86, or it was something
like 197, 90.
Is it something like that?
It's something.
But it's not much.
Yeah. No, it was only like, it was such a small percentage of the amount of mutants that were all over. Yeah. Yeah,
and people only like some people found ways to get their powers back, and it was just kind of given this sort of depending, and but all the way up until just 2020, like that was very much still a problem for so many mutants who like, I don't got my power. Well, they fixed that. You can just die and they'll bring you back with your powers.
Well, but it's not quite that easy, which I thought.
It's not that simple, though.
Yes. That part.
You're talking about the Crucible?
Yes. We have to talk about that, because that was wild to me, because it was also something where I was like, because I had been a little bit behind in comics, and I was like, do they still talk about M-Day? Like, what is happening with, like, this Krakoan Age? Like, what is happening to all those mutants? Are they, like, all, like, reborn, simply reborn, and they're all good to go? No. And this is very cultish. I mean...
Well, and, this part, of course, was also set up by Apocalypse. That was kind of his little brainchild. It's like, you don't get to just simply, like, die and we'll give you your power back. No, you're a mutant.
You have to fight
and
for it.
You have to earn it. And it's great. You get a gladiator-style fight with big old daddy Apocalypse, where he basically just kind of tests your mettle. And because it's Apocalypse, it's going to end with your brutal death.
Yep.
In front of everybody you've ever loved. But you are immediately resurrected with your powers, with whatever your mutant name. Yes. And he Simbas you in front of the, like on Pride Rock, he Simbas you in front of mutantdom, and he's like, this person has been reborn. They are who they're supposed to be. But the first scene where you see that, like, you see Cyclops and Nightcrawler in the background going, woof, this is a thing.
Yeah, and Nightcrawler just like having just all of his history, all of his like religious beliefs like flashed through his mind, just like, I don't
Poor
even know how to,
Nightcrawler.
oh my gosh. Yeah, there's,
This is a hard time for Nightcrawler.
I mean, it's
He loves the
understandable.
Krakoan Age, but it's hard for him. It is so
Yeah.
hard for him.
I mean, there's like it's because it's such a complicated time because it seems like so much good, but so much like questionable ethical things. Like, what is really going on? Like,
should we talk about the rules?
Yes,
The laws? The 3
let's talk
laws of Krakoa?
Yes, let's talk about
Okay.
those.
All right, Chelsea. What's our first one? What's our first law
Oh,
of
you know,
Krakoa?
because why not make more mutants? I mean,
You got to populate the land.
yep. Make that your number one.
Make more mutants.
Oh,
Number
gosh.
one, and that is where poor Nightcrawler, poor Kurt, that's where he struggles with, because it comes up where people are making more mutants. It doesn't really matter who you're making them with, but you're making them. But where are those babies going? I don't know. That's not part of the law. It just says to make them. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
I
that
guess
bothers
will come
Kurt
up
a
more.
lot.
Yeah, which
That will come up.
understandable.
We'll talk about that more in the next arc, we'll say. But number two is murder no man. As part of trying to keep the dream alive of mutants versus humans, you cannot kill a human. You cannot,
I would say there's a big asterisk by this though, which we'll
unless
get
you're
to.
Wolverine.
Yeah, unless this, and then it's a huge long list of all these things. But no, I mean, in general, yes, they stick to the murder no man, and there are actual consequences when they deem it
Ooh,
so.
There's quite a code.
Yeah,
They really only have one actual full punishment.
yeah. They only punish,
and it's
yeah.
not a great one.
I still question why they decided to outright do this one at first. I mean, it was fine. I didn't need him around on the island causing.
Well, that's why
havoc,
they
yeah.
did it, because we can't have you here. So at the very, very beginning, when they say, "Hey, here is Krakoa world," I didn't bring this up, but how they announce themselves to the world, how Charles announces themselves to the world, he sends out a psychic blast to every single mind on the planet, and telepathically gives everybody this huge spiel about mutant-human relations and the founding of Krakoa. And there's
What
a
a
lot
way
of
to
people
deliver a
who are
message,
you TV
You invaded me,
exists.
yeah.
You could have done that.
Invasion of privacy,
But-
no.
Seriously. Which Orcus jumped all over that, of course,
Oh.
though. But at the very, very beginning, Mystique and Sabretooth and Toad were sent on a mission to get some information about Orcus. They were trying to confirm the location of the station, or what
Yeah,
they were
another-
doing there. They needed to know before they sent people off. They sent them to this place in New York or somewhere to acquire that
Just
information.
infiltrate, yeah.
And while they were there, Sabretooth murdered all of the guards in very typical Sabretooth style. Even though he was warned not to do it, Mystique was there the whole time, you can't kill people, don't do it. And Sabretooth was like, meh.
No,
Who's going to
it's
stop
not,
me?
Yeah. Doesn't really matter
I don't
right
freaking
now.
care.
Yeah.
Well, after the founding, Sabretooth got to be the example. He stood in front of the Quiet Council, and they were like, dude, we just gave our laws.
Yeah.
And we can't and
Go
they
back on
decided
it, yeah.
we did just give our laws. Can we give him a warning? And the majority answer was no, because we can't leave him here on Krakoa because he's just gonna be a problem. And if we banish him from Krakoa, he's just gonna continue to murder everybody and make us look really bad. So exile from life
Just in a pit.
was kind of the answer. In a pit, Krakoa opened up right then and there and just swallowed him whole.
Yep.
And basically suspended him in a mental prison.
Yeah, something like that.
His punishment is to just not exist, basically.
And just
Krakoa
be
just
there.
kind of shuts down his brain, and you can just sit there.
Cool. Yeah.
Which they use that when they have to. It doesn't happen much, but it'll come up again more later.
Yeah. But by mentioning also the Quiet Council, so the Quiet Council is the governing body of Krakoa. They all have
Indeed.
different roles and everything, and it's a good amount. And at the beginning of this arc, they're still kind of almost building the Quiet Council, because certain people have claimed certain spots, and they're wanting to fill it with some people. It was especially in the the prelude to this. It also kind of has there's little parts in between the different issues where it'll show like a little like map or something of like who's so far like in the Quiet Council or whatever, and then there'd be like lots of question marks by them, and then it's like revealed later on like who's in it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's each there's 4 like segments of the Quiet Council. There's like the winter seats and the fall seats, so on and so forth. But you basically got your big 3. You have Charles, Magneto, and Apocalypse at the head. You have, you kind of got like your villain table, sort of. You have Exodus, which, if you don't know who Exodus is, I had no idea who Exodus was when I started reading. I was like, oh, he looks really cool. He'll talk someday, I guess. And I know who he is now, but it took a bit. Exodus and Sinister and Mystique. That sounds right.
Yeah.
And then you have like, you got like the business table. You got the Hellfire table. You have Emma,
the Queen herself,
the Queen herself, my angel, the White Queen Emma, the Black King Sebastian Stan,
Shaw,
and then you have the Red Queen, Kate Pride.
Yes,
which is
formerly
just perfect.
Kitty, but yes, now she goes by Kate.
Months, Kate. It's Kate now.
It's Kate.
And then you have like the X-Men table. When you got Jean and Kurt and Storm.
Yep. It's an eclectic group.
The X-Men. Yeah. So they make the collective decisions for Mutantum, for Krakoa, by just like simple majority vote. Which they're like, this won't be perfect, but we can start with this and we can adapt later on. Well, this is also where all the drama happens, so the Quiet Council will be brought up a lot.
Well, and there's lots of stuff where other people decide to be in charge of various things and create their own secret groups and factions and do their own thing. Because,
for sure.
I mean, not everybody just wants to live happily together. People have agendas. And when, like you said, you have these, like, former questionable current villains, living together with, our supposed heroes of the past, there's going to be, like we said, drama. X-Men comics are always drama. It's good, bad,
it's always drama.
Fun, everything in between.
Sometimes it's like just like petty high school drama, and sometimes it's like apocalyptic, the world is currently ending drama. So, and sometimes it's both at the same time.
Yep.
That's the best.
Yeah. So from there, then like you have your main like X-Men comic line, which like those stories really change quite a bit in this beginning part, like of various different
because there's not like when after House of X and Powers of 10, that's when Dawn of X really starts. You get your first major like story arc. That's when it breaks up into all of your little individual books that have their own little stories, like comic books do. But the X-Men book there isn't an X-Men group anymore. It doesn't exist. Because everybody is an X-Man. All of Mutantum is. But by reading that book, you get a really good sense of, like, the major story points as we build towards whatever it is. You might have this group of people in this book. Well, now we have this group of people. And now these two are doing their thing over here. But it's always very important stuff. It's not just little filler side things. Not to say that it's not funny, that it's not a good time. Because the one issue where Cyclops takes Cable and Rachel out to the other island is just good old like family bonding time with squabbling siblings and everything else. That's a good time.
Which, the Summers house, we should talk about it. So, like, Krakoa is a huge island, but they also,
favoritism much.
Me?
No. No. Like, the Summers. The Summers in general.
Yeah, no. Oh, where did they get to live? The moon. They get to claim the moon. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. But
so then they're up there. You got, let's see, can we name everybody in the Summers house real quick?
I feel like it's always Cyclops, changing in there. There's probably some. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. We have Scott and Jean, matriarch and patriarch, of course. We have Scott's 2 brothers, Havoc and Vulcan.
Yep, which I was like, oh, wow, to see Vulcan with them. I was like, wow.
Yeah. Mess Part 2 and Mess Part 3. Ugh. And
Oh,
poor
this-
Jean, she's so outnumbered. Not that she can't take all of them on at once, but
Yeah.
like she's so outnumbered. And then you have 3 children. You got Hope and Rachel and Nathan, i.e.
Yes.
Cable, you know.
Mhm.
Because we didn't say in Krakoa, Cable is like a kid.
Yeah. He's not his old
like
man
an
self that
older
we've seen
teenager.
forever. Yeah.
That's other drama. Like young Cable came back to kill old Cable because he felt old Cable wasn't doing his job efficiently.
But then you
Which is,
find
like,
some other
time-
twist out.
Yeah, it's like
Like,
timeline
ooh.
shenanigans though. Like, don't
Yeah.
worry about the fact that he killed himself. That's unimportant.
And like he kind of
But
wanted
now
him
we
to
get,
and
like-
helped him, so whatever, you know.
Yeah, it's weird.
Cable's a
but now you get like
strange character. Yeah.
it's always. But now you got kids running around the place, and there's like some other like Wolverine lives with them.
Mm-hmm.
Never you mind why. That's not important.
But you can use your
Except-
imagination or not, you know.
If you haven't gotten there yet, Jean has a connecting room with Scott and Wolverine, so
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. But also, obviously, Jean is alive. You know, she's died a million times, but like we
But
said,
also,
you know,
yes, she's
yeah.
alive. She's
Yeah.
there.
Yay, alive for like a prolonged period of time, it seems. So, wow. Thank
And
you,
you know,
writers.
she hasn't like really died, you know.
No.
She's been doing pretty good until like right now, but we don't talk about that right now.
Well, she's like died like in the beginning part. She died like at least 3 times, I think, 2 or 3 times.
Oh, did she really? I mean, she died
Yeah.
for sure in House of X because
Yeah.
everybody died.
Well, and like
Um,
Wolverine's storyline, like he murders her.
Oh, I forgot about that because
Yeah.
like something
Like he was
like,
being
wrong or
controlled
something.
and stuff. And then you watch
Yeah.
like that Wolverine's like watching like the rebirth stuff, and like off to the side is Scott, and he's just staring, and then like Logan notices, and then Scott just walks away, and you're like, ooh, drama there. Like, is that like not gonna be friends anymore type thing? It's like,
Not gonna be boyfriends anymore. It's too bad.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I'm not quite sure because what's kind of crazy is like there's like an order to like when the comics came out for all these different like stories and stuff, but not when they came out doesn't mean that story took place like right at that time, because some of the stories might take place a little bit before some of the other ones, so it's like
Some books
crazy
move faster, like
yes
they skip more time and stuff, but it's all kind of nonsense. So just kind of like you just go along with
just
it.
read what you want, and you know, try not there's only a couple
yeah.
like major spoilers at the beginning, like kind of shock factors, but you know how it's
Mm-hmm.
the new age now with their rebirth and stuff, so you know it's going okay right now, except for lots
yeah.
of death. Yeah.
Except for lots of death, but like that's fixed. It's fine. It's fine. If somebody dies, it's okay. It could be shocking for somebody who's standing right next to them when they die. They shake it off. They're like, "Oh, it's fine." Like they'll be alive again by the time I get home. It's okay.
But not for all the characters, because that becomes a huge story with one of the books that's called The Marauders, which because
Oh right.
yeah, because that's with Kate Pride, and she's all
Yeah.
excited, ready to like go to the island and walk through the
She's
portal.
so excited to like be a person.
Yeah. And it's just like so happy to join everybody, is ready to like waltz her way through that portal. Bam. She can't
She
get through.
walks face first into it. She can't get
And
through the
breaks her
portal.
nose real well.
And breaks her nose, cussing like.
Like a sailor.
And poor Emma she's there like holding Kate, like catching
Yeah.
the blood come out her nose. She's like, "Oh my god!" But that's a huge thing for Kate. Like Kate,
She could go through
cannot
anything.
use the
Yeah.
portals.
The girl who can walk through walls
If she
and
wants to go to
everything
Krakoa,
can't-
she
yeah.
had to find herself a boat. And everybody else is like, "Okay, well, you take your boat. I'm just gonna walk through the portal."
Yeah.
So she
And
just
she's
kind of
like,
like
"Cool."
gets on the boat, like flipping the bird to everybody, like, "Yeah, see
And
you in
then
2 weeks. Fine, whatever."
Gets her bottle, is ready to set sail.
This is the Krakoan Age of Kate pirate Captain Kate.
Yes.
Literally, she's like, "I'm a pirate now. Get over it. I got to
Mm-hmm.
be on a ship. I'm gonna do the thing."
But it becomes a job because
It does become
Yes.
well because she gets to Krakoa. She does finally get there, but she's just like. But at that by that point, she's just like sick of it now. She's like, "Do I even want to be here?" Like,
she's like, is
I
this
don't
even
wanna
as
be on
cool as
this.
everybody thinks it is?
like yeah, like
whatever.
I can't
Like,
even leave here if I stay here. I can't just walk through the portals. I'd rather be out like helping people and doing stuff. So Emma comes along and she's like, "That's fine. I'll offer you a job. Be the Red Queen of the Hellfire Trading Company, And what you'll do, you'll like, because they got to, they create a black market for their like miracle drugs. For the countries who refuse to like accept mutant nationalism, they're like, but we still want the drugs. And Krakoa's like, that's fine. You're just going to pay for them a lot. So Kate's job is to, one, deliver these drugs to different countries. But then when they go to the countries, she's also kind of like pulling mutants out.
Yeah, kind of liberating
like,
them.
Your country won't let you live. Like, it's fine. Just come with me. We'll take you. And she pulls a team of people together, and it's a beautiful, wonderful team. Mama Storm is there, so everything's fine. And they just kind of go around liberating mutants and having a good old piratey time.
Oh, a side note about their team, because there's also Iceman, and then there's also Pyro, who introduces himself as, like, I'm the original Pyro. And I was like, that's so funny, but, like, also, like, the OG that, like, hasn't been around in the comics for, like, who knows how long.
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
So that was kind of, like, a funny little intro to be like, hey, wink, wink, like, we're bringing back everybody, including these characters you thought, like, we forgot about. Or have been dead forever, which definitely plays a lot in lots of other stories too. Lots of characters dealing with
there's so much character drama still going on, but it's like I could be the bigger person, but I don't want to be right now, so I'm going to cause some problems and I'll get over it tomorrow. I'll be fine.
Oh my gosh, I don't know when we're going to talk about it. I don't know if I should talk about it yet, about a certain two characters and being in their original bodies.
No. You know what? Take the reins. Hit it.
Yes.
Talk about them and go talk about Excalibur 2 while you're at it.
Yes,
go for it.
We will. Okay. So we have two characters. Which actually I still think she is probably one of my favorite characters, Betsy Braddock. So she formerly used the name Psylocke, and she has quite the story where there was this other character. I never always knew how to actually pronounce her name, so I've always like said it as like Quanon.
That's how I say it.
Yeah. So, who's like basically a Japanese like assassin, was like bred as a child to be an assassin, and then a long time ago, I think maybe even in the 80s or whatnot of the comics, like maybe even a little bit later, I don't know if I remember specifically, like I think it's the Hand gets involved. They like the bad organization of like ninjas.
It's such a mess. Yeah, it's such a mess. They
take like Betsy's psyche and like put her in Quanon's body, and then like they're like fighting for space in her head. Yes.
Yeah.
And then she's
by the end of it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's literally just Betsy's body, Betsy's mind in Quanon's body. And
then Betsy eventually later on wants to get her body, but then like her body gets destroyed, and like so she's stuck in this body, and then is in this body for quite a long time, and takes on the name Psylocke.
Basically, and if you know who Psylocke is, this is the character that we're talking about. I mean, this is how she's been known for forever. Like telepathic, psionic weapons.
Yeah, her cool psychic swords,
Japanese Psylocke. This is her. It's body of a Japanese girl with a British mind. With a British mind. Yeah, it's two different people, but the Krakoan Age helped them.
Yeah, which is just like...
They reset them.
And it's just crazy, because I was just like, oh my gosh, we like get both of them. Like, Betsy finally gets her body, and we're finally bringing back a character who's been lost for so long. And it also plays into like the role and like what they're both dealing with, especially with Quanon, who takes on the name Psylocke. So we'll call her Psylocke from now on. And then we have Betsy, who becomes Captain Britain, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Psylocke is the one who has to deal with the most trauma, which obviously, because she's been...
For sure, because her life was stolen, just flat out stolen from her. Yeah. Not that it's Betsy's fault, No. They don't have a lot of like ill will towards each other, but it's not straightforward. It's very complicated, and when I look at that person, it reminds me of this. It's not their fault. It's just they were there, But they do work it out. They figure it out.
Yeah, at least
which
try
is really thank God. Yeah.
Yeah,
they can exist together. We'll say that.
Yes, they exist, and I think you see a lot of that struggles with Psylocke and her own series that she has, where she kind of leads a team. Actually, she has two series in this first like arc, where you have Fallen Angels, which almost kind of leads into is it Hellions?
Hellions,
Yeah, okay, with that group. But in the first one, it like deals with her like past, and so it kind of does like almost a recap of like who she is and where she's come from. And then it kind of deals with like that, you know, she has no ill will towards Betsy, but it's hard for her, which makes sense, like, because this woman who is so similar and different, but they need to find a way to, like, she needs to find a way to, like, move on to who she is, because she doesn't know who she is, and because she had been brought up as a child and brainwashed and forced to be an assassin, like, and realizing that, like, she does have, like, you know, kind of almost, it's like simply saying, like, love in her heart, and she does care for people, and just finding out, like, what is her path. And so it just deals with a lot of, that book is, it's hard hitting, and it has some really, gosh, like, crazy moments.
And it's only, what, like 6 issues long?
Yeah, like, it is not that long.
But it packs it in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then, which makes sense why then she is forced to deal with another group in her next book, because she makes a deal with Mr. Sinister and Fallen Angels to, like, help her get through all that stuff, that he's like, you know, you work for me now, and you're gonna do things for me. But which she is also the perfect, because in Hellions, that kind of story is more of like the bad mutants, where they're like not quite to the limit where they should send them to the pit like they did with like Sabretooth and sense like the Abyss. It's more of like, what are we going to do with these mutants to make sure that they don't break the rules of, you know, basically like killing no men. And then they're like, oh, well, Psylocke kind of seems like the perfect person who's a little more level-headed, but who also has like
keep an eye on
them,
keep
an eye on who can
keep them off each other.
Yeah. So that is like an insane book full of insane characters. Some characters I was like, how are you even a mutant? I had to Google who they were. Sure. Because I was like, yeah, you look like a cyborg.
Most of that team was new to me, and I was just like, whoa. Like Nanny and the Orphan. You know, I was like, no whoa. Idea. And apparently they've been around for forever. And I was just like, who? Okay, first off, they're freaking hilarious. They're so messed up, and I love them. But like, where did they come from?
Yeah.
Like, what the heck?
And like, I vaguely
Nanny's
knew about
probably my favorite out of the group.
Oh man,
little egg-shaped whatever she is.
Yeah, and then you have Empath, who can mess with people.
Empath.
Which they do.
Empath's powers are not hard to figure out, but like,
ew,
he himself is also like a sociopath.
Yeah.
So he doesn't care how he makes people feel, and he basically uses people as his slave and to get everything he wants. He's a spoiled brat who can literally control people.
He gets murdered in the beginning of that one, so
he gets murdered a lot. He gets murdered a lot,
but he's not really involved in much of that the series so far. At least in the beginning portion.
He's there to help, but usually he's just like, they're like, Empath, use your powers, do this here, help the team, and they're kind of like, no, and then he'll use his powers on like the enemies to make it worse for his teammates. Like, he's such a jerk. Mess with people. Yeah, he's such a terrible person. So they just kind of come up like, fine, and they'll just like kill him in the middle of the fight. Like, at least you're not making it worse. And then they bring him back, and he's like mad. He's like, why did you kill me? And they're just like, duh, because you're stupid.
Yeah. Well, and one of the other characters that I don't know if we'll talk about all of them, but one of them specifically in that group is Havoc, which I think, because like Scott Havoc is the one who kind of like, I feel like comes to Psylocke, and I think he thinks it's his idea to be like, I'm gonna bring her, she's the perfect person, but then you realize, you know, like, it's all working out according to a plan that she, of course, is like, Psylocke's in charge of this group, but he's like, my younger brother, like, what the heck, like, he doesn't, like, why is he in this group, like, he doesn't deserve to be here, like, I need you to help keep him on the path. And she's like, well, you know, if he's in here, he's probably pretty messed up, but sure, I'll do what I can, I guess.
Poor Havoc. He just gets a bad time all the time.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. Some trauma there, but yeah, that's a little bit about some of those groups, but that's end up where like Psylocke ends up being. So that's Psylocke. And then we have Betsy, who is on her whole like she's in this Excalibur, which if you think of what Excalibur means, like
if you get the context, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yep. We're gonna go to like some medieval castle, storming castle, fighting and stuff. And so like the big thing is like, so her family is pretty important in this storyline and stuff. Like, so she's a Braddock, her name is Betsy. She has a twin brother named Brian. And what's interesting is that they're twins, but like she's a mutant. And also there's a joke throughout it because she's like, which I don't know if you picked it up, but there's a couple times where like, because she like Betsy's really stubborn. So they call her like Omega level stubborn. because she's an Omega level mutant. And like it comes up like multiple times, different characters go, they're like, yeah, because she's, you know, Omega stubborn. And I was like, oh my gosh, whatever. Like it's silly, but her twin, I'm pretty sure, like, as far as I know, like, he's just a human. Like, he's not a mutant.
He is just a human. But he has, you know, he is who he is.
Yeah.
So.
But then it's the whole twin thing. Like, they still feel like they have that special, like, twin connection. But, like, he has had his own role for many, many years. He has been Captain Britain, who is basically, like, somebody picked to be, like, the protector of Britain and also of Otherworld.
If you know who the Green Lanterns are in DC, the Britain Corps is like the same thing, except it's magical and multiversal.
It's like King Arthur's court vibe, is basically.
Yeah, it's
like that.
So he's
whole,
like a sign of like
yeah.
all of the universe, kind of, in a way. Like he protects mostly Britain. Like he's.
Yeah.
He goes and does other things, but he's supposed to protect
like his, like,
Britain
main
of
role,
Earth
yeah.
616. But he's part of a bigger picture that has other Captain Britons and other universes. And yeah, they all kind of coalesce in Otherworld, which is just like the middle of the multiverse, essentially, like the magical middle.
Yeah, the magical, yes, where there are knights and dragons and stuff,
which is where King the Arthurian stuff like continues to exist, which is kind of like, you know what, all right, why not, like it's fine.
Yeah. So we have Betsy and her twin Brian, and they have an older brother. He
Jamie.
is Jamie, which
oh Lord,
that was surprising to see, because I mean, I don't know if he's popped up in recent comics,
like him coming back.
Yeah, because I thought he had been dead for quite a long time, and he had
been. I was shocked that they brought him back. Like at the time, because I was just like, I was like,
oh boy, we're in for trouble.
Yeah, like in universe, who asked for that? Like, what?
Yeah. Well, even Betsy's kind of like, why?
Like, I will put you back in the ground if you don't. Yeah. What? It's like if you don't put your clothes on.
Yeah.
Because he's just like hanging out naked in the. Like, the hatchery, the place where, like, mutants come back to life. Yeah. And they're like, you need to go. We have other things to do.
For real. But no, he is a mess, but it's also because I think of his powers. Like, he can, like, warp reality.
He's an Omega level reality warper. Like, in the sense that, like the Scarlet Witch, because I think she's probably the most famous, like, reality warper, quote unquote. But she does that with magic, not with, like, powers. She has to use a lot of effort to do that. He does not.
He just like moves his finger, just thinks about
he's also terminally insane. So like he's if you know who Legion is and like how he can warp reality, but he's also super crazy for like a list of reasons. Jamie's worse.
Ooh, yeah. Like,
worse.
Keep going.
He's like, oh, I'm going to change your left foot into an elephant and your right foot into a cake. Like, that sounds fun. And, like, you know what? I'm like everybody like that. He's chaotic.
Yeah. And he's like, wait, never mind. I'm going to go do something else. Yeah.
Yeah. He gets bored and he moves on.
Yeah. But he's also, I remember he specifically played a role, like, back when I think Betsy died, like over a decade plus ago or whatever. And I think he was the one who, like, somehow brought her back, but, like, he had been gone for a long time or something. And that was a whole thing. But yeah, I hadn't seen much of him in a long time. So it was like, oh boy. So I know we're in for something, because this, I mean, Excalibur, like, wow, what a crazy story. But basically, I don't even know how to simplify it. Like, so Brian was Captain Britain, but then he gets taken by, of course, you know, like with like Arthurian stuff, it's
Morgan Le Fay. Yeah, he goes back to her because she calls him, because she's like, she's taking like King Arthur's place because he's just like MIA or whatever. So they're like fighting a like war to like find him, kind of, i.e. also conquer everything. Yeah. It's really stupid. And she's all like, we hate mutants because like mutant magic is stupid.
They aren't as superior as us. Like,
just pure, just, you know. So she brings Captain Britain back. But then is like, LOL, I'm actually gonna like make you my slave.
Yeah. So the mind controls him.
So
and then
Yeah.
Yeah. Then Betsy has to come in because she's like, where the heck is my brother? Like, I can tell he's missing. Like, what's wrong? And then tries to, like, fight to bring him back. But she's like, I'm not going to kill my own brother. Like, I want to save him. And so they deal with the whole thing. And she does eventually, like, get him back. But because of all that stuff, he's no longer worthy of being Captain Britain.
So, because she took on the mantle once he became, like, a mind slave to Morgan Le Fay. Which was a whole other thing, because then Britain was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe
we have a
Captain
mutant."
Britain.
Yeah,
it's a mutant, and she's a woman. Like double boo to that." And it's like, okay, calm down. Because with the Krakoa, because England is one of like the few like major countries who were like, we don't agree with the whole Krakoa thing. Like,
yeah, they're like,
no, thank you. So they're already like anti-mutant, and now like their Captain Britain is a mutant, and they're just like, nope, no, they're not.
No, we're gonna take you down.
She doesn't exist.
Yeah, and so then you have like a bunch of like a coven like in the real world like trying to take her down.
Oh
and
God!
The government just being like,
yes,
yeah,
it's like
okay,
whatever
sure.
happens, man. I don't care.
But that's all chaos. But basically, throughout the whole thing, she's like dealing with having this mantle that she doesn't really want, but her brother can't take back basically right now. And so
she's got to save him, and then she's got to save Otherworld.
Yeah.
And Jubilee's baby is a dragon.
I know, we have to talk about the team. I love this team so much.
It's such a good team. Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh.
So it's first and foremost, it's Apocalypse's team. This is like the Apocalypse book, because he's all like, "Hey, remember that time I know magic?" And everybody was like, "Oh, for sure, yeah."
And he's like, okay, well, I had plans.
He's like, well, anyway.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, which is trouble, but like, especially like with Betsy, like she has no choice but to like deal with him because, you know, it's her duty to protect like Otherworld
like
and also,
everybody. They're pretty like they're not terribly friendly with Apocalypse, and he's kind of like, well, I don't really care how you feel about it, but I'm going to tell you what to do, and you're going to like it.
I'm right, you're wrong. Like, listen to me.
Yeah, which objectively he is. He is right. But that's besides
he also,
the point.
But he has his own agenda, 100%. Or at least, like, he thinks he's, you know, everybody's like, oh yeah, sure, you know, you're being honest. And he's like, yeah, totally. I just am not telling you every single thing you need to know right now.
Yeah, like, it's not important right now, but we might cross a bridge.
And maybe I'll tell you then, but you can figure it out.
And maybe I'll tell you then. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so we got him. We have him and Betsy. They're like the big people, like the major players. We have Rogue and Gambit.
And they're happy right now. Like,
and they're
Rogue
happy.
Has
they're
her powers like kind of under control. Like, they're able to be together and just that was really nice to see that.
We've got Jubilee. Love Jubilee. Always love Jubilee.
Who is a mother.
Who is a mama. She got a baby.
She takes on missions. Either willingly or unwillingly, because Apocalypse wanted to babysit her child, and she was like, "Oh, we know how
like,
this story goes."
Like, they're not touching my baby.
Yeah. Well, and then her baby
but
doesn't want to leave.
Like, seeing him like sit there and like hold the baby so sweetly and fondly. Because she's like, "You're not touching my baby." He's like, "Well, I have him now," and he just like appears in his arms.
Yeah,
like,
and you're like, "Oh,
I'm babysitting. You go do your nonsense." And she's just like, "I'll kill you," and he's just like, "I have your baby, so maybe you should go."
Yeah. And then she's
just like, "That's fair."
Yeah. But then she eventually takes her baby back. So
she does. Well, they take the baby back, really just to get him away from Apocalypse, so that they go to Otherworld. And what happens when they go to Otherworld?
The baby becomes a dragon.
And not like a baby dragon, like a full-grown dragon.
And he is happy like that because it's like a land of
he's still a baby.
Yeah.
He's like, in his brain, he's still a baby, it's kind of cute though, because as a dragon, like Betsy can communicate with him because she can read minds, and she can read the dragon's minds much better than like a baby's mind. Because he knows how to communicate via like emotions and stuff to Betsy. So she's always just like, he's fine. Because Jubilee's freaking out, of course.
She's like, my baby,
he's a freaking
what
dragon.
Is happening? He's so big. I can't control him. Like, what is happening? Like, turn back. And then the child is so happy being a dragon. He's like, nope, in this land, I'm a dragon. This is fun.
Yeah, Betsy just kind of looks at him. She's just like, Jubes, totally. He's fine. Let it go.
Yeah. And
She's like gets up and like flies around, blowing dragon fire everywhere, and Betsy's just like, nope, he's gonna be okay. Don't worry.
Yeah, I totally took a little screenshot at one point because I think it was like when Betsy was communicating with the child, and there's this cute little image of like a happy little dragon like next to Jubilee, and he's just like so little cute, just being like, yay, I want to take my mommy on a ride, like this is so fun.
For real.
Yeah. I'm like, aw. But, you know, because he's a dragon, though, unfortunately, that does cause problems with fighting and stuff. And so then that has to be dealt with, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's okay. He never gets hurt in the fights, so he's okay.
No.
He's fine.
No,
he's
he's
big
all
boy.
good. But, oh my gosh, I think that's so funny. I just, like, started cracking up and also being like, of course there'd be a dragon, and of course the baby wants a dragon.
Arthurian legend. We gotta have a dragon. Which was basically how that was explained. Like, well, why did... Because when they went through the portal, they got, like, a slight change of clothes, like, to kind of match the aesthetic, but then, like, Shogo got turned into an actual dragon. and the explanation was like, well, I mean, we're in Otherworld. Why wouldn't there be a dragon?
You know. Yeah.
And everybody's just kind of like, well, okay, that makes sense, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we have one other member of the team, too. Who?
Is it Richter?
Yes.
Oh, Richter's so cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know Richter before this book, so, like, I really got to, like, follow his, like, unfortunate progression, you know? But then, like, Daddy Apocalypse comes and is like, you're gonna be okay.
Yeah, and actually helps him.
And Richter's just like, I will follow you to the end of time.
Yeah. But he's like, I think he's like kind of a cool, chill dude, but like, and he's like really working more with his powers and like kind of discovering more of who he is. But yeah, he kicks butt. He's a great part of the team. And we were cracking up before we started recording this episode because I had a screenshot from an interaction between him and Jubilee at one point because
like in the background, like there's like important conversation happening, but like in the background, Jubilee's like
well, the thing is that like Betsy went hunting or something and was like cooking some like random like animal she killed like on the fire, and Jubilee was like, nope, I'm not eating that. Yeah.
She's just like, I'll survive off of my protein bars, and she's like pulling them out of her pocket, and Richter's just like, oh my god, like give me some.
Yeah.
so she's like handing them over. And then the next frame, it's just like, Jubilee, these are candy bars.
And Jubilee is kind of like, and your point is?
Yeah, she's like, what about it?
Yeah.
Like, I'll take him back.
He's like, okay, whatever. It's okay, I guess. But it was so
not
funny. But
it's not animal.
No, yeah, not animal at all. Yeah, Rogue and Betsy have no problem eating over there, and then they're just like, I guess we'll have our candy bars, protein bars. But it's so funny. Jubilee is a laugh. She's a great time in this.
She's a mess.
Missed reading stuff with Jubilee in it, so it's a good time.
Mm-hmm. Well, she'll stick around with Betsy for quite a while. So
heck yes.
So there's that.
I mean, any other books that are in this part that you want to mention? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens.
There's the X-Force book, which is basically just like, it's got some really heavy hitters on it. That's where Wolverine's at. That's where Beast is. You got in Jean Grey. There's a lot of like very strong people there, and they're basically just like the mutant CIA, where they're kind of keeping an eye on the rest of the world via a vast majority of methods and making sure nobody's like quietly not out to get them and stuff like that.
There are a lot of people quietly.
There is a lot, like immediately. It happens immediately. Like they start getting attacked from this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And like the cool thing about the Krakoan island is that it can move. It's not just like stuck in a place. It just kind of swims around the ocean. Mm-hmm. But they have so many like defensive things like that the island just naturally kind of provides. They always know when there's people coming. They know when they're going to be attacked.
Except when they don't, which happens quite a bit.
Except when they don't, which happens quite a bit because there's a that organization who are trying to find ways of like slipping into Krakoa unnoticed to like take out the major players and stuff like that. So they're learning. They start like learning from the very gross ways that these
it's
organizations are using in order to like get around all of these defensive mechanisms. Like it's really like it's a very dark
icky.
book.
Like, yeah.
It's like, whoa, man. It's
Like,
a very
you think
cool book,
Yeah.
but
Like, you think the X-Men have dealt with some really nasty, really evilly creative ways. Like, oh, things just, like,
every
get
book
worse.
kind of like one-ups. It's
Yes, that is a perfect way to describe it. I'm just like, how, like, oh. And some of those images will traumatize you.
I know. Oh my gosh.
gosh.
Like the skin stuff especially. Oh
Yeah,
God,
it was
no.
like the Russian doll thing.
Poor Domino.
Whatever. Yeah, that too, yeah.
But my favorite part of that team is Quentin Quire,
Oh gosh.
Kid Omega. He's like he can do he's like Jean, where he's a telepath, he's psychic, he can do all of these like psi based things. Except he also thinks he's Jesus. Like he thinks he's the strongest mutant in all of history for forever because he's so smart and he's so powerful and he dies every other issue. So, you know, like he's the friend that you have because they're cool to hang out with, but like he also exhausts you all the time because he just won't shut up about himself, you know? He's that friend. But now, which he's always kind of been that way, but now like he's on this team with all of these other heavy hitters, but also that have lots of more experience than he does, like being out in the field and stuff. So he's just always like running into problems and like getting murdered for it. Or worse, like half murdered.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna
There's
say.
some rough times. He's been like lacerated. He's been decapitated. He's been incinerated. It just kind of goes on. And they bring him back and he's like, don't talk to me. Poor kid.
Which, that reminds me of Cable. So, because Quentin, he has his eye on a girl or multiple girls, but they want to have nothing to do with him, and they're all like, Cable. Oh, the cuckoos.
So if you all know Emma Frost, you know,
something.
The White Queen of our dreams. She's the telepath. She has like the diamond form. Well, she has 5 little like mini clones. I think that's technically what they are. Like they're her daughters, but they're just clones. They're the Stepford Cuckoos. That is their collective name. They each have individual names, but you don't need to know them. It's fine because they talk all at the same time, and they also like it's. When they get used in the comics, especially in Krakoa, because they're kind of like Emma's assistants, kind of, but they also have like their own responsibilities. And they provide such like sassy banter in their heads. Like this will be happening and they'll be like talking to each other in between the 5 of them. And it's just like, they're like mean girls. It's so perfect. And yes, Quentin Quire like has a crush on all 5 of them because they're the same person. They're all the same person. But they like Nathan. They like Cable.
Yeah.
And that drives Quentin crazy.
Yeah. And
because all of them, they're all telepathic. They can all read each other's minds. None of these things are secrets from any of them. But like Cable's cool, he don't care.
Yeah. No, and he's like, yeah. So in his book, there are a couple things that I found absolutely hilarious. Because one part is like, there does a little recap, and it was when Cable and 1/5 of his girlfriends went to Philadelphia. And I'm like, yep, 1/5, yes, because he is dating all of them.
They take turns. They don't go all at the same time because, you know, they all get their own individual time with Cable.
Gosh. And they like to think that they're his favorite, and he likes to think, and they're all like playing games with each other at the same time.
Because they are all constantly telepathically connected. The cuckoos, they're all right there in each other's heads at all times.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just thought that was a funny description because I'm like, yep, of course that's the way to describe it, but it's true. Yep, Cable dating 5 people, but. Another thing, side note about his comic related to him is that like his whole storyline has to deal with like it's fine, we don't have to cover it, but he has to go visit Deadpool And there's a part like where one of the issues where it's kind of like a story between that kind of tells them more like the past with like it's a Deadpool writing a letter to like kind of like Old Man Cable, and that letter was so funny to read. But like it's like all this fancy scripted writing, and he's like, my dearest Cable, and goes on to like just be overly dramatic and be like, I'm so thankful you thought of me for this wonderful task and all this. And then he's like, sincerest of like sincerities or something, Deadpool. And I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Deadpool.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that you bring up Deadpool, because Deadpool is not allowed on Krakoa. He can't. Physically, he cannot go through the portals. They will not let him. But he's also like not technically a mutant.
Yeah.
Which is their excuse. They're like, sorry, man, you're not you can't, you know. But really, they just want nothing to do with him, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, they don't, because there's some, like, family members and stuff of other mutants that are totally human that can go through. No.
Oh, they like if a mutant has, like a human spouse, the spouse can they can come to Krakoa and live. They can just live there, you know?
Yeah.
But now, I don't, if like a mutant is like a child of the parents, but the parents are human, I don't think it works that way. I don't think the parents get to come, because the kid will still be taken care of, like on Krakoa, you know? I don't think I've run into any situation where like the kid got to bring his parents with them.
I wonder if not many of those kids had parents that were accepting or something. Maybe that's why we haven't come across it.
Well, we know that that's a problem, like with mutantdom.
Yeah.
We know that's a thing where the kids are constantly getting kicked out for being a mutant and stuff. So maybe that's why, but it's just never really come
really
across. You have like adult mutants. You have like adult mutants who have good relationships with their parents, but no kids.
Mm-hmm. No, a lot of those kids are severely traumatized, and like you see a lot of those younger kids and stuff dealing with that, like kind of not quite, but kind of in like the New Mutant storyline and stuff. Like that's kind of where it deals with a lot of like the kind of younger kids that were like the New Mutants at the time, but they're all their own
the New
drama.
Mutants and then the New Mutants.
Yeah, but
yes, they are their own drama. Yes.
Oh my gosh, so. Within the group, outside the group, like. They have some really depressing storylines they deal with that, like, really affect the group. And then they also have, like, because half the group goes into space, the other half, like, goes to Nebraska and deals with stuff. But, when you deal with the New Mutants, you have to deal with Roberto.
Roberto!
I'm rich. I can pay for everything. And he loves to be self-aware in his comics, because he, like, in his ones, it'll start with, like, you know, yeah, all this dramatic things happen, and, you know, of course, I came to save the day, or here's my cool recap, and then, like, another character comes in to be like, because there's one part where one of the characters comes in and is like, you know, there's actually another team on Earth doing things that, like, are in the other books that, like, we're not a part of, and he was like, there's a New Mutants book that I'm not a part of, like, who thought that was a good idea? Like, how dare you do this to me? And I'm like, oh, thank goodness we don't have to deal with you that much, because... And then, you know, he's like, I can buy you everything. And then all the women he meets in space, like, hey, I saved you. Want to be together forever. Just no.
He's like Star-Lord, but worse.
Oh my god.
But with like, yeah. Is he the one that has like, he's got the fire powers?
Yeah, he's Sunspot. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right.
Yep. Mr. Drama.
He does get better, if that helps.
That's
he's
good.
in some other books later, but he like, he's much more much more like he chills.
Yeah.
He chills.
But no, that team it's something. Because, you know, they're also the younger ones, but they're like, they've been through stuff, and they're also like, oh, well, you know, we're mutants, we can go help people. And yeah, well, they try to help, but then some situations kind of got worse, but also kind of better.
They're young, they're still learning how to do the hero thing.
Yeah.
Typical kid superhero stuff.
Yeah, so those are something, but lots of crazy things. Oh, side note, that reminded me of something too, which there's so much stuff in. But one thing that's interesting, because Krakoa became like a nation and they wanted to make it official with like the UN and stuff, they also felt like, you know, what do a lot of other countries and stuff have? A lot of them sometimes have their own language. And
right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so then they like create this own language and stuff, and so anytime like a mutant comes to Krakoa for the first time, like they have like a telepath, like basically like
like
kind of
download the language into their head.
Yeah, so that you can
so
use it.
Every mutant can always speak to each other safely. Yeah.
Yes. And
which is funny because they still can't communicate with Krakoa because Krakoa doesn't speak Krakoan. Only Doug can speak with Krakoa.
Yeah, it is really funny. Yeah, it's a special relationship. Reasons. Wade.
It is.
No.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
But in the first, like the prelude, the House of X, Powers of 10, they have like a whole actually like a section, like a key, like a key for the
they
alphabet.
write out the language. Yeah, they write out the alphabet, and it's like it's not difficult to get necessarily. Although like how it how it's written is so like it's so like circular based and like stuff like that.
It's
like oh my
it's
gosh.
a fun little like code and stuff. But what's really cool is that like they incorporate this language throughout all these books and like little in between little segments and stuff, so it's actually fun to like go back and try to like decode some of them. Like some of them, like it's kind of like self-explanatory, like when you're looking at like, you know, like you can kind of get the idea of the stories going on, but some of them like they like give little tidbits of stuff to come. Because there's this one, it's early on in I think Excalibur, where it like has people's names like coded. So you can't like easily tell, like as you're reading this like issue, you're like, who are they talking about? You realize like this was like signed by Apocalypse, who he actually has like a new name because some mutants take on old names. So, but since we don't speak Krakoan, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but we'll still call him Apocalypse.
And that's a joke within the community, like because
so
people like in the book they're like, he's like, call me like it's like a series of like hyphens with a fancy A. It's like that's my name, and the characters are like,
sure.
Can I just call you Apocalypse? And he's like, no, that's not my name. My name is like insert nonsense. And they're just like, no. Because his name's not even like, it's not in Krakoan, because he's like as old as God is, you know. It's like his ancient name. So like the humans are just like, we can't say that. We're not gonna do that. You're just Apocalypse.
Yeah. And he'll always just continuously try to correct people, and they'll just be like...
He corrects people all the time, and they're just like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Jan.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just kind of funny to see those codes throughout and stuff, and some of them are like pretty crazy lengthy codes to decipher. Like one of them,
yeah.
I totally deciphered. It was like a whole page, and it ended up being for X Factor, and it was basically like what they send to everybody with X Factor about, like, you know, is someone you love dead? Like, you know, X Factor investigations can help you with this. Like, do you need proof of this and that? Like, call X Factor investigations. And it goes through like their whole little spiel, and then it says like, you know, are you worried about, like, do you not want somebody knowing that you're sending us a tip or something? Well, contact us through these magical pod stuff and everything, which X Factor is another group, and they basically solve mysteries, solve murders. You know, give proof so that people can be resurrected, because they're not going to resurrect anybody just, you know, just because you say they need to be resurrected. Like, you know, we have to have proof.
Oh, yeah, there needs to be, like, proof that they're really dead and all this other stuff. You know, you're talking about, like, all the crazy inserts and stuff in the books.
Yeah.
I can't remember because you read everything up to, like, the first event. Have they started including the Sinister Secrets?
There were quite a few early on.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
They're the Sinister Secrets are the best. It's like, this is the hot goss that's going on in like Bar Sinister, which is just Sinister's bar for him and his clones.
Yeah, talking.
And it's just like, but basically it's like, here are some extremely cryptic hints of stuff to come, and sometimes it's like way down the line, but the clues that they give you are not easy to follow. Like, it's one of those things where like you get to that point and you feel like going back to why, you're like, oh my god, that's referring to this, like, but you wouldn't know with the clues that they give you. So we might have to sit down and like look at the Sinister Secrets that they've given and see if you have any like guesses, like just for fun.
Yeah,
because and it's not just for like his book, it's like for all the books. For everything that's happening.
I did screenshot one further or early on only a part of it I'll read just because the beginning part's funny, because with the whole
they're all such a mess.
the laws about like, make more mutants and stuff. It goes, make more mutants, they said. Now be honest, who did you have crossing the finish line first? Probably a pretty redhead or a blonde. Well, nobody got that one right. And I was like, oh,
whoa.
We know who they're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, he doesn't pull his punches.
No. Yeah. Just all the digs at all the people and all their drama, the big ones, like Jean. Quickly talking about there. Which also that like Emma, I feel like we don't get enough of her in this like
in the beginning portion. No, she's just kind of
preparing
there
for stuff to come.
Oh no, she's no. Yeah. She's coming. She is. But she's just at the beginning, she's there with the Marauders because they're establishing like the hierarchy of Hellfire and stuff like that. And she's in like she's in X-Men every so often, just acting as a council member and stuff. But that's really about it. But like once we get past the Ten of Swords event into like Reign of X, no, she's there.
Good, because I'm like,
and then by the end of Reign of X, like it's her show.
I'm like,
there's a lot of like poor Emma. Like there's a lot of this lady. She's done some things in the past. But she is working so hard because she truly believes in the Krakoan dream. She's trying to make everything perfect because, for her, it's for the children.
Yeah, and that's who she cares about so much. Like, she cares about Kate so much, specifically, too. Like, you really see that.
And I love their relationship. That relationship just gets better. It only gets better. But she works so hard for the kids. And when later on, like, especially, like, closer to the end of Reign of X, when, like, some cracks start to appear, she gears herself up, and she's just like, you all suck, and we will get through this. Even if that means if I have to like puppet your brain into it, we will do this the right way, people. And but that's the thing, people don't take her for granted either, though. Like, because she's mom, when she issues a threat, people are like, okay, we'll cross that off the list because we can't do that anymore. Because she's not controlling. That's not who Emma is. But if she catches wind of something and she's like, I'm going to tell you why that doesn't work for everybody, not for her, but for everybody, she'll issue threats. Like, she gets in the middle of stuff if she needs to, but she always does it with her usual, like, posh, sassy self until she doesn't. And when she gets serious, like, serious Emma in the Krakoan Age is quite scary.
Yeah. And, like, she is, like, very much a businesswoman, but she does actually have a huge heart. And, like, but because she is that, like, has that businesswoman mindset, like, she can get stuff done. And, like, that's why you need to listen to this woman. Like, she knows what she's talking about. Like, let her rule. Let the queen rule.
Emma is, like, one of my favorite mutants. And the fact that we get so much of her in such good, like, different ways too. Like, she's not just always the same character doing the same things. Like, she's all over the place. But I love getting to see her, especially when she's sticking it to Charles.
Good.
Because she's Charles, always the first in that line. Yeah. And, like, just calling out the hypocrisy. She's like, I make sure you all can't call me a hypocrite because I know who I am. I make it work for me. But you all, stand around whine all day instead of getting to the meat of things and fixing it. Like, come on now.
Yeah. Which, speaking of Emma too, like, one person that we get to, like, see her interact with and stuff, who I'm like, at first when I saw him, I was like, who the heck is Christian and why don't I remember who this is? And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is her brher. I was like, wow, that's been a long time.
Which, you mean Bobby's new boyfriend?
Yeah. For real. But oh my gosh, I don't know if you've ever gone back to read like Emma Frost's like kind of like origin story. It was like a mini series or something, like about like her early life.
Is it like growing up and like her siblings and stuff?
Yeah.
I think I don't think I've like read it myself, but I have heard so much about it. I think I can remember everything that like happens in it.
Yeah. I thought it was really good. Like, I definitely recommend, like, that's a good read to start with that, like, gives more of a background on Emma, and also, I think, especially at that time, like, also gives more of, like, a better look. Not that she has always been the villain, but I think a lot of people still probably see her as a villain, but, like, it shows, like, what crap she grew up with and what messed up family, but, like, that the only, like, person in her family she could rely on was her brother, Christian, that he was, like... the one that, like,
because they're the only mutants in the family, right?
No, they're not.
Wait, is the older sister a mutant?
I thought both sisters were. I think there's two other sisters.
Remember.
But
because one of them's like freaking
Emma specifically
crazy.
wanted them to stay dead or something, and so I think that's why they haven't appeared yet. Maybe, like, they're evil.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, because didn't one of them blew up her school, right? And like killed like all of her kids.
And
yeah. And it was just
like,
to be petty. Like, it was just to be like, see, look, you can't protect anybody. It wasn't like, it wasn't for a good reason at all.
No, they're true mean girls. They berated her, did terrible things to her as a child. Like, you know, they were nasty sisters. And especially the one was definitely worse than the other. But, like, and then, like, Christian growing up in that family and stuff. And then, like saying, like, you know, telling people that he was gay and his family, because, you know, of course, you not only do you
for
have
him,
the
it was
nasty
one thing to be gay, but it's also a mutant. So
yeah, but both of those things were like, I know things in the family, just and dealing with all that and how Emma was the only one there for him type thing. But yeah, I had completely forgotten about him, and I was just like, oh, like, wow, that's cool to see him, and like that he seems to be doing okay, at least right now. And I'm like, that's good, because he's been through a lot, like those two and stuff. But
and his and his ship is like super cool. He controls it with a piano. Like, okay, like, how gay are we gonna be? Let's go. But also, he's also sleeping with Iceman. So I mean, pretty gay. So.
But oh man, yep, it's a good time. But another fun character, you know. I guess, I don't know, I can't really call these characters fun, but in some ways. But, you know, another good character.
Well, I mean, it provides good stories and good entertainment and stuff. So
yeah, for sure. Oh gosh, we've talked about so much X-Men. Anything else want to highlight? I mean, we could keep going forever. We this
could.
Is, like we said,
So this is really like everything we've talked about today is kind of like the first arc. It's like the first year of the Krakoan Age, more or less. And we didn't really talk about specific stories, just kind of like the structure and stuff. This is the dawn of X. Every year is kind of a new like page in the Krakoan storybook, and this is kind of where it all begins. I think next time we'll probably talk about like the big event that ends the dawn of X. And it's pretty wild. It's a great intro into like what's coming in the next year. So listeners, we really hope that you liked listening to us go on and on about it. If you came out of this with more questions than answers, always rely on Google. Google and YouTube with these things are your friend, but also you can ask us too, and we will we will help. We will educate and help you out, find where to find more of this character and this storyline and stuff. We are so happy to talk about X-Men, like, so much. And we've only started scratching the surface of the Krakoan Age. So, in Chelsea, she's gonna have it a lot more in her head than I am during these segments, because I've been reading since it started, like as it's been coming out. So I've been trying to go and kind of catch up and remember a lot of these things, but this is all pretty fresh for Chelsea.
Yep, I'm reading it for the first time. Yes. So
for the next episode, guys, if you kind of want to be there with us, we're going to be diving into the Ten of Swords event, and all of the absolute wacky nonsense that comes out of that. Think of it basically as X-Men's first tournament arc, but kind of on steroids, because it's not a one-on-one punch them in the face till they're done kind of thing. It's a whole other mess. But if you have some things that you feel like we just barely glossed over, let us know. Send us an email. Find us on social media. We are all over the place, and we would love to hear from you, especially about mutant stuff.
Yes, indeed.
And so anything left to add, Chelsea?
I don't think so. I think it's more of thanks so much for listening to this episode, guys. And like we said, we're going to be continuing on talking about X-Men and General Mutants. So we hope that you will join us along for the ride, and make sure that you are subscribed so that you don't miss out when we release our next episode dealing with the X-Men. So until next time.
See ya.